This is probably one of the most special workshops. This is without a doubt the most special place to gather for a workshop. We have the place to ourselves. We are the only guests now. We've taken over the place, so it's all us. We own the castle. We own the place. So we have the next 3 days, it's all about us, which is really, really nice. I mean, everyone on the grounds belongs here, and isn't that a wild thing? I mean, really. So I think that's beautiful. Bless you. I thought this isn't going to be an intensive lecture. Many of you are jet lagging. You've just arrived. So what I thought I would do is just have a little chat about all things heavy and intense. You know, we're gonna talk about, you know, your intuitive nature, but what do I mean by that? You know, I use a topic like that, and then I take off. And I like to give titles like that because that gives me places to expand and go off into the ethers. But I chose this topic because I know that we are living in so it's a challenge to even describe how extraordinary the times are that we're living in. But we have evolved into an intuitive age. And how we understand that and how we understand what's happening to you, within you, around you is a real fascinating addition to like how you understand your life. And intuition is such a funny subject because in a sense it's one of the most interesting things about yourself. And two, it's kind of like explaining a forest, a tree to a, how do you say that? A forest to a tree. Because you are so extraordinarily intuitive, and the truth is some of your greatest sufferings come from the fact that you're so intuitive that you repress it. That you don't want to feel your intuitive self dialogue with you. You don't want your intuitive signals coming through at all. So that a great deal of your most difficult interior pain is that you don't want to know what you know. Is that you wish things were other than the way they were. And and that's the nature of the intuitive self in you, is its accuracy. So what I want to explore is in part, what is your intuitive nature? That's number one. But two, is the far-reaching orbit of what your intuitive nature is. Because the way that your mind thinks, the way that you perceive intuition most commonly is that the mind sets intuition up as a practical skill that can be reduced to answering practical questions, as if it's a servant of the practical world. So that intuition is reduced to, am I going to get this job? Is this the right thing to do? As if your intuition operates in harmony with the rational world, when in fact it's not a rational skill. So already you are miscalculating what your intuitive nature is. You're already approaching it as if it is a mental skill instead of what it actually is, which is more of a mystical attribute. You're already reducing it to a left brain characteristic so that you can practicalize it and put it to work like a work animal. so that you can, do you understand what I'm saying? And that's not how, you have to understand the multiple functions of gut intuition, survival intuition, interior guidance, the multiple levels of what the nature of the intuitive self is. And it's multiple facets to you. And how much of your basic instinct is to turn it into a survival skill, to just help you get by, because so much of you mentally is focused on survival. Yes? Okay. And so we have to talk about that. I want to position that and maybe just address a little bit just for curiosity's sake about who you are, and the landscape of your life, so that you have a sense of how the journey you're on, and that you don't miss the journey you're on, and how different it is from the journey other people were on who came before you. And that's that one of the characteristics that define who you are today, who we are today, is that you simply don't stop seeking. You don't stop searching. You're obsessed with yourself. Obsessed. And if I said, what are you looking for? How would you answer that? How would you answer that? What are you seeking? And what is it that keeps you ill at rest? What is the source of your unrest? What is it? What's the source of it? What keeps you disrupted on the inside? Have you any idea? What makes it so difficult for you to find contentment? What is that? What makes it so difficult for you to be in a resting position? Nothing's enough. You're always working on something. Nothing's ever still for the modern person. They're never content, but what is it you're looking for? Well, you're not really sure, but it's not here, but it's not there. But I'm not here, but where are you? You're never really fully in present time. Well, it's partly my history. Well, I don't know, but I'm processing, but I'm working on that. You're working on what? Well, I'm not sure. But I'll get there, but I'm almost there. This is the profile of the modern person. The constant search for what exactly you're not sure, but it must be somewhere. This is the modern person, the modern profile. You are spiritual nomads, having a mass exodus from traditions, traditional spiritual places. I don't want to go there again. I don't want to be anywhere near that place. No one's going to tell me what to believe. What do you believe? I have no idea. Well, I'm not sure, but it's not that. People today are experts on what they don't believe, but totally uncertain about what they do. So they're searching for what they do believe, but don't trust a thing. The paradox that is the modern human being absolutely mesmerizes me. The search for belief while having an unbelievable incapacity to believe anything, to trust anything, to trust a thing, to go deep, to make a commitment to a practice. Intuition, to trust your own gut instinct. No, I can't do that. But I'm searching. But I'm searching. The absolute inability to find one's way in their own interior labyrinth to truth. Well, what's truth? Well, I'm not sure. What are you looking for? Can't be sure. Well, I'm trying to figure that out. Extraordinary. This is the profile of the modern person. I don't want to be told what to believe. I'm not going to tell you what to believe. I just want to know what it is you're seeking. I have no idea. But I don't want to be told. Would you like a little direction? Maybe a little bit. Well, I don't know. I don't want any religion. I'm not going to talk religion. Watch it with God. How about some spirituality? You're going to pray? Well, I don't know about that. This is the modern mind. The modern mind. This is what we've done to ourselves. It's a whodunit in the world behind our eyes. It's an absolute whodunit. So when you say you are seeking, part of what the person today is seeking is a way back in to your essential human nature. To your essential humanness. To your essential human nature. What is your basic human nature? What is it that you need that will bring you to a resting position? What is resting position? What is that? What is that? What will bring you to a resting position? Well, you could say, I don't have to look about that anymore. That I just know. I know that. I know that to be the truth about my own nature. I can't violate my nature anymore. That would violate my nature. That's a no. I got to keep my ballast straight. That would violate my nature. That by your own human nature, you need to practice balance. It's written in the code of human nature. Your intuition is absolutely coded to get you into balance. The alarm goes on when you fall out of balance, so it goes ding, 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 ding. You're out of balance. And it triggers in your gut why you're out of balance. It is not, if you ever again tell yourself that you are intuitively gifted because your grandmother was some Cherokee Indian, I will personally put your head in a toilet for 7 minutes. You understand the nonsense? No more garbage mythologies. You are not allowed to lie to yourself. Everybody was born this way. Everybody. Everybody. This is your wiring. It is your essential human nature. That's it. Your essential human nature. That's it. Your essential human nature. It is when you understand this about yourself, there's a kind of a deep breath you take and think, oh, I don't have to keep going anywhere now, except I have to understand what my nature is. I have to understand what balance is. And I want you, in the course of this workshop, I want you to kind of change something. I'm going to talk to you a little bit like a spiritual director. I'm going to kind of shift a hat on as well. I want you to assume a position, a posture, that you are not looking outside of yourself for anything. For anything. You're not seeking to understand your intuition so you can make big, huge life decisions so that you don't lose any money and you're safe in the world. And I don't want that agenda. That's not going to be your agenda. That won't serve you. That won't serve you. You want to understand your agenda. You want to understand your intuitive nature because you want to understand you. You want to come to terms with who you are by design. Of course this is the way your soul talks to you. That's your soul's voice. you want to understand how you're wired, because that's just the way the inner self speaks to you. It's not about what do I get out of this so I'm safer in this awful world that's going to consume me. Stop it. Leave the monsters in your head alone. This week's about you just bringing yourself to balance so that you're not afraid to be whole. Because you're not afraid. You're not afraid to hear, to feel what your heart's saying and what your head's saying. And you realize, oh, they're speaking the same language. And that is what intuition is. That you're not at war with yourself. That you don't make things up. You don't think one thing and then feel another and then have to lie to yourself to reconcile that. That in fact you become congruent. So that when someone asks you a question, you don't hovel around and say, what should I tell this person to make them feel better? Never mind what I'm really feeling. You stop being that kind of person. You get it straight with yourself. You have any questions here? So I'm going to push a little further and I'm going to say, it's not just about that. It's also about on the one level, this is how it affects you on the practical, physical. But you know, we are living at a time, we've kind of crossed a Rubicon. And every time I talk about this, I find myself very challenged because of the depth to which I understand it and my minimal capacity to communicate it. I kind of feel, it's almost like Jules Verne where he goes to the center of the earth and he comes back and says, you should see the hole I've been in, you know? But I kind of feel like that, you know? But it's a little bit like that because we are actually living in a different whole energy, society, culture, dynamic than our parents did and our grandparents. We are living in nuclear consciousness. Words don't help. But let's say we have the age of the internet. And if you understand the internet, you understand that the internet is a form of technology that has allowed people to communicate, have your dinner, instantaneously. Like stealth guests, they come in. Okay, so let's go back to the internet. That the internet I'm using as an analogy. That with the internet, everything, you can't see it. Where is it? Where is that thing? You cannot see it. But you are hooked to it. You can't live without it. You're so hooked to it, you can't even function without it for 5 minutes. You'll run to it as soon as we're out of class. You'll get on board it. Because you cannot imagine yourself without this, where is it? This invisibleness that in fact, if you really got it, you would realize that the only part of you, there's just a minimal part of you now that functions in the physical world. The majority of you The conscious majority of you manages in the invisible world now. Your mind, your creativity, your emotions, your energy, your business, your finances are all in the invisible world. The densest part of you, your body, remains in the physical world that you must drag around. And to show you how much dragging the body around has become an effort, in order to get people to actually drag their body around, the culture has spun up with gymnasiums and clothes to say, see, put this on your carcass and walk it down the street, put a water bottle, some food in your mouth, call it exercise. Now, when you were a kid, it was just walking. But if you dress your carcass and actually schedule it, you can call it exercise and feel really good about yourself. Get yourself off the couch. And because the density is becoming harder and harder to move. So go hire a, what is that person called? A trainer. Go hire a trainer to help. Come on, I'll get your matter off the couch. Get up. Because it's harder and harder to move your density. Because we have retreated more and more into the psychic idea air zone. We don't have any problem living our life here up, but here down, oh, I don't know what that's like. I don't know, I'm not going there. And don't make me go down there. Don't. Our problems reflect this. Our capacity to relate to the earth reflects this. Our problems with the physical world reflect this. Our losing species on the earth reflect this. The diseases of the body reflect this. We've lost touch with being able, we've lost touch with physicalness entirely. Because we prefer the airwaves now. We prefer relating through the airwaves. We want everything very fast at the speed of intuitive hits. If I can't meet and get to know somebody in 15 seconds, 3-minute dating, 2-minute dating, 20-minute this, da-da-da, forget it, da-da-da, forget it. Choo, 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 choo. Information bites on what do you call that? Computers. I just want to read 2 sentences. You've got 15 seconds to make your presentation. Choo, 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 choo. Why? Because we are absolutely condensing everything. Because we're taking time out of everything, relying more on our energetic dynamic and our intuitive dynamic than what used to be our linear dynamic of full body physical communication. For a lot of people, the transition from what we would call now horizontal to vertical consciousness, because that's very vertical, instantaneous is vertical, intuitive vertical, is causing breakdowns. And a lot of, they can't do it. It causes neurological breakdowns. It causes depression. It's going, I want to talk about all the difficulties that causes. So that's also something I want to bring out tomorrow. Now I see half of you cannot keep your eyes open. So what I'm going to do is just stop hitting you with one heavy duty thing. I'm going to open it to any kind of questions you have. We'll just chat. Anything you want to ask. Anything? Yes?
Can I just change the subject for a minute? When was the first time you came to London and did a workshop? What year was it?
What year was the first time I did a workshop in London? Whoa. Wow. 80s, mid-80s.
Yeah, because I think I went to, well, I did go to one of yours in the 80s.
Yeah, it was in the mid-80s.
25 years ago, something like that.
That would be 27 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, wow. Whew. Oh my God. Long time ago. Yes, long time ago. Oh my God, that's when I stayed with Sylvie and Sean. Oh my God, the stories I could tell you. I laughed so hard. I laughed so hard. I thought those two people were acting. I did. I thought they were putting on an act. I did. I rented a room from a brother and sister. He was a barrister. They looked like Tweedledum and Tweedledee. They rented a room in this apartment. They had to rent everything, every inch. And I rented what was their parlor. And it still sort of was, except they put a bed in there. And he was selling little trampolines to make. And this room was full, my bed, a couple of chairs, and trampolines. And he opened, yeah, and he opened, and I look, he said, oh, there's your bed, and feel free to bounce. And he looked like Winston Churchill. I was mesmerized. He looked just like Churchill. So naturally, I had a crush on him. He looked like Churchill. I loved Churchill. And there was Sylvie, and Sylvie had a crush on 3 guys, all of whom were named David. So her brother named him David 1, 2, and 3, and they all worked at Cheetahs. And every morning, he would interpret dreams about David. Which one was it? I do believe it was David number 2. And I would be like this. I mean, I really thought I'd fallen down the rabbit hole. I just could not believe it. And I'd come there, and I tried to, this place was just like, Sylvie I was there just like a day and a half, and they were talking like this, well, I'll know by the day. Well, everything would be fine by the day. And the day was the way Sean controlled Sylvie and her episodes of, if I don't know, if I don't hear from David 1, 2, or 3, I'll just, I'll go mad, Shawnee, I will. So he would say, everything will be fine by the day. Just pick a day. So she'd pick a day on the calendar. And that was the day. And that became the focal point. Everything will be fine by the day. I'll know by the day. When the day will come, everything will be fine by the day. Well, of course, by the day. And it happened that I was there I arrived there during a week when the day. So that Thursday was the day. I didn't know what to do. I got all dressed up. I didn't know what to do. It was the day. And now I'm in it, right? And you fall in it. It's like a spell. Why are you all dressed up? Because it's the day. What day? The day, It was you fall into madness. Just like that. Well, what day is it? The day. Whose day? Her day. You just fall into it. So Sean and I got, you don't want to hear all this, do you? It's so silly. But it was just that years ago. Oh, anything else? And when I think of it, yes.
Will we be touching on archetypes at all?
Yes, because archetypes are an essential part of understanding how your intuitive nature works. I mean, how do archetypes work? How do they function? How do they talk to you? How do they make their presence known? They come in through your intuitive system. But that's not a sophisticated enough answer. That's like saying, how does a burglar get in? Through the back door. That doesn't help you. Your intuitive system is so vastly creative, so vastly fluid, and archetypal patterns are so vastly clever. And you have to understand, they're so porous, they're so sexy, they're so eager to come through. And every time you think about picking up an intuitive hit, you retreat to your mind. You just go to your mind. Go to your mind. Where is that intuitive hit? And that's the last. It's like looking for a ghost with your eyes. you won't see it. You sense it. That's the last place you should do, is look for a ghost with your eyes. An intuitive hit, an archetypal hit, is far more a subtle thing in what words am I using? Did I change my vocabulary? Am I imaging things? Have I begun to change my images of myself just now? Have I changed a fantasy? Has a fantasy kicked in? Have I started to imagine myself this way, whereas I wasn't a minute ago imagining myself that way? Imaginings are a language of an archetype. Feelings, sensations, chills down you, how you respond. You go from being comfortable next to someone to suddenly being aggressive. How'd that happen? How come I just got uncomfortable at this table? Or suddenly comfortable? Just had an archetypal shift. You sense this through your intuition, because it's not a logical thing. And if you retreat to your mind, and you will say, who just said something to me? What did you just say to me? What did you just say to me? You'll look outward for something that has nothing to do with anything outward. You're going the wrong direction. You're going absolutely not. It's a logical wrong direction. It's very logical. Of course you would go there. But I've got to reel you in and say, okay, that's a first step. It's a logical first step. But if it wasn't there, now where would you go? Now where would you go? And I want you to always picture now, if someone else was sitting next to you and they attacked you, or they thought it was you, get out of yourself. Stop always thinking you're the center of the universe when you are learning something now. Do yourself a favor and always think about someone else now. The greatest gift you can give yourself is to get out of yourself when you're learning something now. Is to think that someone else is looking at you the way you are looking at them. And that's going to open you up, soften you up, and make you see others see yourself through their eyes, and you switch places. So when I tell you that if you don't reel yourself in, you have to look, and I don't want to say it that way, by reeling yourself in and thinking, I am looking for my uncomfortableness to be somebody's fault. Maybe it's not. Maybe I've had a shift of an archetypal pattern. You keep that in mind and you think, what if someone else just had a shift and they were looking around the table thinking it could be my fault that they're uncomfortable and I haven't done anything? But what if they projected it? Now, all of you have been a victim of someone's projections. I have no doubt about that. None whatsoever. And you've all projected something onto someone that they had nothing whatsoever to do with, but they happened to be there. And that is a dangerous thing. And that's the part of you that's the archetype of an attack dog. And you've got it in you. And people have that in you. And everybody has that. And you got to know that that's a part that you just reel in and think, okay, I got to intuitively ask myself, what's going on here? And that's when your gut, you've got to be really steady and back to balance. You've got to have a real strong sense. I'm out of balance. I can't get a clear answer right now because I'm not balanced. I've got to get myself back to balance and then ask myself that question. So the whole dynamic of intuition is very wrapped up in archetypes, in self-knowledge, in inner health, in a whole big complex of what is my inner life about in self-care. It's not just about, it's a whole inner track. Does that make sense to you? That's how it works. Say works, I don't even like that word. That's how we function. Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is part of the plan that you have for this seminar, but I'm really struggling with trying to understand compassion and detachment. Will you be addressing that at all?
I don't know. I didn't even think about that. But if you ask a question and it comes up within the context, I'd be delighted to.
Okay.
You know, it's not a difficult thing. We could stick it in somewhere. But you know, I don't. You know, no. But I mean, seriously, I don't. You know, subjects like that, I don't lock in. I think I'll address compassion and detachment. It'll fit in somewhere, I'm sure. But if not, throw your hand up and remind me. I said compassion and detachment. Yeah, go.
So I'm pretending I'm talking to you on your radio show.
Uh-huh. Do you mean the Hay House?
Yeah.
Okay.
I listen to all the time. The narcissist. This is one archetype that I have struggled with for my life.
You want to be it, or you don't want?
That's a good question.
I always like to ask a narcissist that, just because before we do a dance, I want to know what costume you're wearing.
With a narcissist, and I'm like, whoa, is that my narcissist? And it freaks me out. It just freaks me right out when I see it.
So what's your question?
So I have one in my life, and every time I'm in her company, she's my stepdaughter, it's like I get hit after hit after hit after hit.
Rather than hitting her.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And so there's a containment that goes on. I find myself really having to draw back and ask myself those brutal questions. Is this me? Is that my behavior? You know, what am I seeing? It hits me so hard and it knocks me off my balance so quickly, so easily. She has to just enter the room, not even say anything, and I'm off.
Well, first of all, you know that idea that there's that theory that says you're looking at yourself. I'm not sure about that, because I think sometimes there's a lot of validity to that. But when I look at someone who beats up a child, I'm not looking at myself. I think what I'm looking at is that I want to beat that person up. And I'm so maybe that's what I'm looking at, is that I want to grab the bat and beat the crap out of that guy without mercy. So maybe I'm looking at that I have in me what he has, but that's because I can't bear the pain he's caused that child. So maybe it does bring out something in me. Because I don't believe in rationalizing with someone who does that. Or rehab. So, you get it? Some people aren't redeemable. Narcissists, it's like there's no point in sitting down with a kid who's a narcissist. Because they are just like, so what my way of dealing with that, let me just say, I had a similar with a niece. And I said, that's not the rules of my house. My rules are this, and if you don't, So I don't repeat myself. And I don't say please. I don't do any of that. And she came in, dropped everything on the floor. Everything on the floor is trash. So, everything. Where's my son? You doing that? No, I told you. Scream, 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 scream. I don't. Just nothing. Louder. Absolutely no effect with me. Zero. You have no idea how zero I can get. You have no idea. It's effortless. Louder. And are you exhausted yet? It matters not. Scream, scream, pound, pound, scream, scream. I hate you. I really don't care. You have no idea how little I care. Now what do you got? Nothing. You got nothing. And I still don't care. Now what do you got? Nothing. Play your last card. You got nothing. And I still have a deck. I haven't played one card. There you go. Show no effect. Nothing.
And that's detachment.
Bingo. But the thing is, I meant it. I meant it. It was no power play. I meant it. I love her a lot, and I meant everything, completely detached. This is my rule. I don't ask twice, and I don't say please. I don't repeat myself. Rules of my house. I don't play games. Okay. She didn't stay over again, by the way.
She lived with us for a year and a half. My stepdaughter is grown. She's a doctor. She's 28 years old. And I think I got to that point, but it took a lot of work to get to that place where I could listen to what she needed to say, but just nod her head.
Oh, so now she's 28?
She's 28.
And she's a doctor?
Doctor.
Give up.
But it breaks my husband's heart that I've given up. It breaks his heart.
Well, you know what? Her own life's got to be her teacher now, not you. Get out of her way.
I know I have no power. I know.
Right. Now your only chance, work on yourself. Get out of her way. Work on yourself. You have an agenda with her. You have an agenda, and your agenda is what's giving you in trouble. What's your agenda with her? Yeah, what's your agenda? Why is this bothering you?
Because it breaks my husband's heart. He loves her dearly.
And so what's his agenda with her?
He hasn't given up.
No, that's not an agenda. What does he want with her? That she's a narcissist, and because of that, what? She won't call him?
Oh, she called him.
Okay, so what's the problem? What's the problem?
My problem?
No, yeah, I mean, what's the problem?
Problem. I
Yeah.
want nothing to do with her.
Oh,
And he's the one to have everything to do with her.
oh, I see. Okay, so that's the problem.
That's the problem.
Okay, and you want nothing to do with her because when she comes in the house, what does she do? She ignores you and fusses over her dad.
Denise does. Everything's on the floor.
Okay, so you can't control her and she fusses over her father and ignores you.
That I'm fine with.
Okay, so it's just because she fusses, she drops things, or what is it?
It's the drama she brings. She's the stories that she needs to tell, the constant need for attention, the constant need for validation. She's probably the most fit, vital people I know.
Mm-hmm.
She's pulling herself out of shape.
Right, okay. She's always looking for reinforcement and okay, all right, here's what's true. That's never going to change. So you have to. You have to. You have to actually, she is your noble adversary. She's your noble adversary because you are obviously, she must represent something in you. And maybe she draws, she maybe in some way, I'm going to be direct here if it's okay, does she invalidate something between you and your husband? Is there a competitive thing there? I don't know what it is, and it could be unconscious. It could be emotional. It could be something where this is the kind of stuff that you got to go deep in yourself, that she's another female that comes in that, is there an emotional her or me, or does something better than you, or whatever it is, that she brings out an inadequacy in you.
There's one thing, because I asked myself that question, she's the fulfilled wanderer, and I think
Okay. Okay. So there's something that she brings out in you that is a resentment. And if it wasn't there, you could care less if she came in and was a whirlwind. And that's what you need to address in yourself. That's when it says this has nothing to do with her. It has to do with something she's been able to treat herself to in life, and I did not treat myself to. And good for her, bad for, what else can I wander in? You know, that's the breaks, you know. Okay. Yeah, what?
How is our intuitive nature different from the guidance that we get at the well?
You know, the guidance, I've got to explain what that is.
Repeat the question.
How is our intuitive nature different from the guidance we get at the well? The phrase "at the well" refers to, I'm doing a reflections class online, and it's called Pebbles at the Well. I just finished it, as a matter of fact, and the second part's Jewels at the Well. And it opened up with drawing everybody to their well for prayer and dropping a pebble in the well, based on the teaching of the scripture in which the prophets were called. And they said, I am listening. I am listening. And they came forward when Yahweh called them. And when you drop a pebble in the well when you're praying, it is for inner, it's a soul. It's a soul mystical force that you're listening for God. You're listening for God. Your intuitive system is it's organic divinity. It's different. There's survival intuition, fight or flight, gut. When you're in line and you're looking at a cafeteria, should I eat this? Or reading a menu, should I? And you think, ooh, that's not good for me, or da-da-da. And you think, screw it, I'm going to get it anyway. You should. And your whole system said no. But you did anyway. Or you followed it and it said, no, that's not good, you're right. That's not at the well. That's just your whole system constantly talking to you. Constantly talking to you. When you're out shopping and you say, I remember when I was in Greece one time and I said to the guy, is this a real tourmaline? He says, absolutely. And I thought, you're lying. And I bought it anyway, and it was right, and I didn't pay attention. So it's, you know, it's that. Very different than when you're praying. Very different. All right, I'm tucking you away. You guys are ready for bedtime, big time. Bedtime, big time. So I am just going to close your eyes and I love this prayer. Hover over me, God. Hover over me, God. I picture Teresa. And Teresa of Avila, she would always say, you know, angels fill my room, hover over me, God, keep me safe through the night. Keep me safe through the night. Amen.